I've been eyeing this particular car for quite some time now. While it may not have the flashy exterior of the exotic vehicle, I was more interested in the engineering behind it. This SUV stands out as something unique, not quite electric nor strictly hybrid, but a blend of both that promises to change the hybrid car market. L9 has already won the National Car Award as the best car of the year, which in its significance accounts an Oscar nomination. And for quite a while I was hyped to get it out on the test, but its popularity has skyrocketed in a matter of months. Parking lots are now overflowing with L9s, from one side indicating their value, but that seriously put down my enthusiasm. Yet even with such a saturation, L9 remains a rarity in many countries, so that was a good reason to film it. Alright, so what's so fascinating about it? Pretty much nothing. It is made by Li Auto Chinese brand. Now, I know I said electric, but actually it would be correct to say hybrid. I thought it is not the typical hybrid where the petrol engine powers the wheels. Here we have the petrol engine too, but it has nothing to do with powering the wheels. It is now considered to be the best ever family car into which engineers have integrated all sorts of usage scenarios, including the use of the electric grille, and I even heard that you can charge another electric car with it. Hence, the way I thought about doing this review is by looking at the car through the daily family needs perspective. So what can we think of a typical family concerns be like? First of all, there is always a need for several drivers, need for the ample space within the car, probably changing kids inside, taking them to school, feeding them on the way to school while stuck in traffic, entertaining them during that same traffic jams or long trips somewhere. Again, long trips may involve some luggage, and we can probably pitch in some safety aspects to that list. And consequently, the question of family safety becomes acute. Firstly, the car was able to achieve a maximum 5-star rating in crash tests in China, getting a score of 94%. And secondly, L9 is equipped with all the systems trained to recognize emergency situations, roadworks, sudden trajectory intersections, and make decisions based on this road data. ADAS here is a fairly high level. I mean, when I switch an indicator on a motorway, it automatically accelerates and changes lanes, and it does it well even when the lane markings are not visible. The body as expected for a 6-seater car is pretty huge, 5 and a bit meters in length and almost 2 meters in width. Since the car is intended for family use and will probably have both parents driving it, it is well stylish but quite neutral with no excessive attention. If you look at the car shapes, it's just a few clean lines, nothing flashy. The only thing which can put some people off, I thought I don't mind it at all, is this 2-meter LED strip. I gotta say, it does have a style. It reminds me of the Ice Guy from Incredibles. Of course, we have a taxi sign on top. And yeah, speaking of understatement, the choice of colours is very limited, mainly white, black and grey, and while what you get for your money is also pretty much fixed, there is almost no additional features or configurations available. But if you're ready to pay quite a bit of extra cash, you can get luxurious purple colour and or green colour and retractable door sills. The fact is that the configurations of these cars are all the same, both in terms of performance and appearance. Moreover, the company offers similar models. There are L6, L7, L8 and our version the L9. You could probably look at it from the BMW X lineup, which differ in size whether it is X3, X5 and the X7 equivalent in size to this model. But unlike BMW, it will be much harder to spot the differences between them. That's alright, since by driving one we pretty much get the feeling of how all the other Li models drive and feel. Yeah, listen, I have not seen bigger displays than in this car. But besides the 2 displays up front, we have another 3 in the car. One on a driver's wheel, a fairly large-scale projection on windshield, and one in here. But let's get back to the topic of family matters for now. The interior here is covered with very premium feel Nappa leather, and everyone in the car get the separated seats with heating and ventilation. The third row has that too, but it doesn't have the 10-point massage function which is present in the first 2 rows. I do really rate the third row. It is a rare thing to have that much space. They even have the reclining seat option, and plus this EV doesn't have the drive shaft. The floor is completely flat, giving you more leg room to stretch. Alright, moving on. So whether you're picking up your kid from school or forgot to have breakfast at home, you'll find a spacious refrigerator / an oven. In refrigerator mode, it'll keep your temperature from 0 to 7 degrees Celsius, but in the oven mode, it will reheat your food from 35 and up to 50 degrees Celsius. And when you lock and leave the car, it will continue to work for another 24 hours, so you'll be fine leaving your food here overnight. I'm really not the picky person, and I tend to overlook any issues the car may have, so usually just close my eyes on anything which could be going on with the car. And Li is certainly a great car, but there is one issue which really gets on my nerves. It's the cup holders. They are perfect, but they're just not in the right place. So when I put my hand on a armrest, my wrist really falls into the cup holder, so I tend to drive having my hand inside. And as I move my elbow back, it falls in the other cup holder at the back. So that just really gets on my nerves. Everyone in the car, including the dog, will be able to charge their phones. I've counted 3 wireless charging pads on the center console, 6 Type-C ports, 2 12-watt sockets, 1 220-watt socket, and a support for the 5G internet. With the press of the button, the car will drop down by 5 centimeters on the rear axle to assist the loading process. And you can electronically lower and raise the third row seats individually. And the system will automatically move the second row seats out of the way to streamline the entire process. Li engineers just love big screens. The projection here is absolutely massive. So in addition to the navigation and speed, they for some reason thought that I need to know what's going on around me, so they put a massive image of the road, closed by cars, pedestrians, traffic lights, signs, trees, everything is just there. And first of all, I can well see what's going on around me, so that becomes rather distracting than helpful. I would have kept it a bit more minimal. Let's set aside its size. What is actually very impressive is the quality of the picture. Response speed is great, no delays whatsoever, and as far as I understand, the far right, the further one, display serves as an entertainment function from the front passenger. Meanwhile, the display closer to me is the command center with all the information about the car. And as you have probably noticed, instead of the traditional instrument panel, we have a small touchscreen display on a steering wheel. I personally dislike both the shape of the steering wheel and that display. It's just not very aesthetic, not sure. It is not the feel but the looks which I don't like. Either way, in here we have the information about the trip and consumption stats, and there are settings for the electric, fuel and hybrid system operation. The car speakers are no name, but they're very great ones. Pretty clear sound you get in here. And we have another 15.7-inch display. Developers were keen to replicate the idea of the cinema with deep immersion, so they installed vibration motors in the seats, or perhaps these are just massage rollers connected, creating the vibration effect when action-packed scenes like explosions, crashes or falls happen in a movie. Another smart yet useless function is the gesture and voice recognition based on AI. System recognizes human speech and watches out for your mood and movements to detect if you're tired or want something. Car runs your voice through the system and takes action based on your conversation and gestures rather than simple commands. Bit of ChatGPT in here. LiXiang, open my window.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
打开我的窗户。
打开我的窗户。
倒地。
Like, the car should understand that you want your window open, close the curtain, or put the movie on by having a regular conversation with the system. But you may also want to learn a few gestures. Well, I think it's time to talk about the most interesting part of the car and its technical layout. And here for some, this car will become ideal, while for the others it will be a clear red flag. The concept of the hybrid means that unlike a typical electric car, a hybrid can switch to a petrol engine at any point in time and continue moving like a regular car, right? However, here the engine function is not to power the vehicle's movements, but only to recharge the battery. There is no connection between the engine and the wheels at all. L9 can operate in 3 selectable modes: pure electric, pure gasoline and hybrid. Of course, if desired, you can go beyond this automatic hybrid mode and manually set how would you like your powertrain to work. You can maximize the use of the engine. An option enables enhanced battery charging until it reaches 80%, or operate solely on electric power. There is extended electric mode called until the last electron, which just drains the battery completely, but that doesn't sound like a healthy thing for the battery life. L9 electric range is only 180 kilometers at max, thanks to its tiny 44 kilowatt battery, but in reality this value is a lot lower, with my driving only lasts 2/3 of that value, probably even less. But its overall range is massively high. By Chinese standards it is 1300 kilometers, and by global standards, which are a bit more accurate, it's 1100 kilometers, all because of the 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. Well, diving into the technicalities of this process is certainly interesting. 2 electric motors are located at the front and the rear of the car. The main electric motor at the rear and delivers 272 horsepower to the rear axle, while the front motor produces 177. Together we have a pretty good figures of 449 horsepower and a good 0 to 60 acceleration in just 5.3 seconds. Considering this is a hefty car, the acceleration here is excellent. The engine is not in any ways connected to the wheels, it only rotates a 100 kilowatt generator, which produces current that is delivered to the electric motors and recharges the battery. And that's the beauty of it, knowing that you'll always reach your destination regardless of anything and despite the conditions you'll find yourself in. You'll always be in time to pick up your child from school, and you won't get stuck in some deep ass village because you're out of battery. You can definitely find a few litres of petrol to keep going. And in the urban conditions, you can simply rely on electricity without even using the engine. The battery will easily last you a day of driving in a city. But there is a catch. Achieving such a huge range has the downside, and that's the very red flag I was talking to you about. The but lies in limitations that come very quickly. With 450 horsepower you could be a fast one pulling from the traffic lights, but not so much in a motorway. Its top speed is capped at 180 km per hour, but the situation gets even worse when after just 40 minutes of active driving, your battery will be completely drained and the top speed will drop down to maximum 140 km per hour, and the response on the throttle will be similar to the Fiat 500. When the battery is empty, now all the energy from the engine goes to the battery and then straight to the motors while hardly charging it. This becomes challenging because quick overtaking is not an option for you anymore. I mean, there is still some response to the pedal, but as much as a 1.5 litre engine can do. But this car essentially is all about the driving range, which definitely beats all the other brands by far. And to be fair, if you're a sensible driver and don't drain the entire battery in 40 minutes of active driving, then you'll be more than fine. Moving at a steady speed of 120-130 km per hour, you won't deplete the battery and you will have all the 450 horsepower throughout your journey. What is truly impressive in here is how smooth it is. Forget about the power issue, suspension here is just superb. You sink into the sofa-like comfort and hardly feel anything. Watching some L9 reviews, people rate it similar to Rolls-Royce, but how would I know that? The car is equipped with some sort of Lee Magic Carpet system, which is essentially a CDC system where radars and lidars scan the road ahead, and the suspension continuously adjusts its stiffness to match the road's surface. After driving the car for a while, I started to notice how it engages various electric motors. When the battery level drops to around 80%, the engine starts periodically to recharge the battery, which in turn powers the rear axle. During the dynamic driving, it operates both the front and the rear motors, and as the battery level decreases, the engine runs almost constantly to recharge it. Regarding the consumption, it stays on average around 8-ish, 8.44 litres per 100 kilometres, which I guess are a lot lower than all of the other 6-passenger cars. There is nothing particularly surprising in all of this. It is simply a sleek car for family use. You get in, you drive it without any problems or thoughts whatsoever. By its looks, level of comfort, quality and entertainment, it stands equally or slightly below the BMW X7, Mercedes GLS and Range Rover. Moreover, the L9 price leaves competitors at significant disadvantage. It will cost you less than $75,000, while you can search how much is the new X7. L9 is certainly quite luxurious, but from my point of view, even with such an attractive price and a good looking appearance, the brand name isn't there yet. Having all the same and even more features as the top brands doesn't really put Li in a premium echelons. And here it is up to you to choose, weighting all the ups and downs. In my opinion, this is a fantastic car that will soon become even more viral, but the power and speed limitations do put me off from considering it an option for now. But I'll get to slow driving at some point in my life. Probably not in this life.